For example, if you conceive a thing to be difficult, your interaction with that thing might be difficult. If you conceive a person to be a bad person, your interaction with that person likely will not be a positive interaction, and so on and so forth. And here is one very, very important point which we want to talk about and share our thoughts, which is of having a good opinion within oneself, and how much really that affects our own being and our interactions. And one of the most important things in having a good opinion, which in Arabic we know as husn dhann, and one of the most important relationships that a person has, of course, is with his God or her God. And have we ever thought about how are my opinions about God? There is a beautiful saying from Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a lengthy saying, but I just want to pick on one or two of the things there. And he begins by this: I swear by God who has no partners, which in itself is saying that something great is coming, or it's very weighty. That no good of this world or the hereafter has been granted to any believer. No good of this world or the hereafter has been granted to any believer except due to his good opinion of God. Except due to his good opinion of God, his good behavior, and his avoidance of gossiping and slandering. So you can see, first, it's between you and God, then it's between you and his creation. Between you and God, and between you and creation. And he continues, and he says that God will not punish anyone after repentance and seeking forgiveness except due to his bad opinion of God, insufficient hope in God, bad behavior, and gossiping about believers. So again, between me and God, and between me and creation. And then he continues to say, and this is amazing, again he says, I swear by God who has no partners, that there are no believers who have a good opinion about God and receive anything less than they expect from him. And receive anything less than they expect from him. This is so since God is benevolent and has authority over all that is good, and is ashamed of one of his servants having a good opinion about him and he acting otherwise. Therefore, have a good opinion about God and be inclined to him. Yes? Ask yourself, we are supposed to be manifesting or having the reflections of God. If somebody comes and has an opinion of you, a good opinion of you, and it is within your ability to bestow, you yourself will feel ashamed to live up to not to live up to according to the person's opinion of you. This is just you and I in a day-to-day interaction. And how beautifully the Prophet said, do not die and depart from this world until you have formed a good opinion about God, since this is the price of heaven. And we ask ourselves, we know one day, and it's difficult, that day is going to come when we depart from here. There is no doubt about that. We have no choice in that. But we do have one choice. How am I going to live? I'm asking myself, do I want to live kicking and screaming and shouting? Or do I want to go with ease, with my hands open, as if I'm ready to embrace the one who is about to receive me. How am I going to go? That choice is mine. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. To entertain a good opinion of Allah is part of the ma'rifah of Allah. And if you think about it in one way, what was the whole point of everything? A great part of the point was to come here and to recognize Allah. Do we not find in that Hadith al-Qudsi that I was a hidden treasure and longed to be known, so that I created the creation so that I may be known? This is maybe the essence of our journey here. He deals with his servants in accordance with their good opinion about him and their confidence in the vastness of his mercy and generosity. And how beautifully this is in the Hadith al-Qudsi as well. Ana inda dhanni abdi bi. I am as my servant thinks of me. I am as my servant thinks of me. So let him not think but good of me. There is a nice story that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam relates, that during the Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, that during the time of Nabi Musa, two men were imprisoned for whatever they had done, and after some time they were freed. One of them was quite large and chubby, and the other one was quite thin. Moses asked the chubby man the reason for his being of this stocky nature, and he replied, from having a good opinion of God. Then he asked the other man the reason for him being so slim and thin, and he replied, from fearing God. Then Moses raised his hands towards the sky and asked God to inform him which of the two were nobler. God revealed to him that the one who had a good opinion of him was the one who was nobler. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now don't read anything into this, yes, that all skinny people are not good, or all people who are, stocky and, are nobler necessarily, yes? Coming towards the end of this first part, in his lengthy letter to his son, Imam Ali, Amirul Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib, salawatullahi alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, advises amongst the many, and these are gems. One of the things that he says to his son in the letter is, do not disappoint a person who holds a good opinion of you. Do not disappoint a person who holds a good opinion of you, and do not make him change his opinion. Do not make him change his opinion. And you can see that this goodness or belief of goodness and seeing nothing but good in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that was the amazing characteristic of the Ahlul Bayt. And since tonight we are also commemorating the Wilada of Lady Zainab, salamullahi alayha, you know of that beautiful saying. I just wanted to mention it, when she is asked what she made out of this grand tragedy of Karbala. And what did she say? That I saw nothing but beauty. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. We talked about the importance of good opinion and really how it actually affects us in so many different ways. Having a good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala somehow, some way, eventually also leads or has an effect on a person's inner being. So much so that it has an effect on a person's nature. And when something affects your nature, then it also affects your interaction with people around you, and you begin to form a good opinion of others as well. And forming good opinions of others makes you do good to others. And when you do good to others, how are they likely to reciprocate with you? By doing good to you. And you see this whole circle becomes a beautiful circle which just increases in goodness. Good nature has really been praised, and you would see this in all religions, but particularly in Islam, it is something that has been praised, and ill nature has been condemned. In fact, we find in Surah number 3, Surah Al-Imran, verse 159, I think it is, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it is due to mercy from Allah that you deal with them gently. The Prophet here is being instructed and commanded. It is from the mercy of Allah, due from the mercy of Allah, that you deal with them gently. And had you been rough, hard-hearted, they would certainly have dispersed from around you. It talks about the disposition of the heart, the being of a person, the nature of a person. And so much so that the Prophet goes to say, the most perfect of the believers in faith is the best of them in nature. The perfect of the believers in faith, the most perfect of them, is the one who is the best in nature. And if you think about it, look at a candle that is shining. Wherever you will take that candle, it will spread light around it without decreasing its own light. A person of a good nature is like that. Amongst his colleagues, it will have an effect. Amongst his family members, it will have an effect. Amongst his friends, workplace, anywhere he is, it will be goodness coming out from him. But on the flip side, Imam Ali alayhi salam also gives us something very important to think about. He says, the evil person cannot think well of anybody. The evil person cannot think well of anybody because he can only see people as he himself is predisposed. Allahu Akbar. The evil person cannot think well of anybody because he only sees people according to how he himself is predisposed. So again, do you see of having a good opinion and a good nature has an effect on the outside. If you look, we only see the outside world in accordance with the world that exists within our own selves. Yes? If I wear a yellow shade on my glasses, everything will appear yellow. If I wear blue, everything will appear blue. Whatever hue that is in here is how the outside world is going to appear. Look at the example of a person who is prone to lying, for example. He will suspect everybody, even though that person is speaking the truth. But on the other hand, if you take a person who is accustomed to being truthful and speaking the truth, he will believe each and every one. even though that person may be a liar who's trying to, beguile him, he will still innocently believe him. Why so? Because we view and we interact with the outside world in accordance to how our inside world is. The inside world is a whole different matter altogether, but we just briefly, and inshallah, if Allah gives time, we'll discuss more. We want to touch on this. We've talked about good opinion of Allah, good opinion of the creatures. What about having a good opinion of myself? Now, there is a big distinction here, or sometimes the distinction can be subtle. We don't mean arrogance in that sense, but we actually mean good opinion of the self, as in seeing self-worth and having self-esteem. Yes? How I am actually looking upon myself as myself. And this is very, very, very difficult and hard, because as life goes on, we wrap ourselves with layers, and these layers become more and more, and they become more tightly wrapped as we advance in age. And it's very, very difficult actually to go through these layers. But self-esteem is something that is so important, so important. If you think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is immensely invested in you and I. Immensely invested in you and I. You know of this story of the angels protesting when Allah is creating the humankind and saying to him that he's going to create bloodshed, cause mischief, and yet despite all of that, Allah continues and He says, I know what you don't know. How I feel about myself may also affect my relationship with Allah, may also affect my relationship with others, and it is of the utmost important. It affects every aspect of my life, including work and relationship, and as a parent, and as family, and in every possible way. It can hold the key to success or to failure, to understanding myself and of others. It reflects my ability to cope with the challenges of life. It's my ability to value myself or yourself with dignity, with love, and with respect. And you will find the greater one's self-esteem and self-worth, the more resilient such a person may be, the more creative and ambitious a person may be. And naturally, this will have a follow and a consequence in terms of how successful a person may be. Now, of course, success is not always measured in things that are quantifiable. Please bear that in mind. Self-esteem is not a static condition. It's not something that is just fixed in one place. It fluctuates, and it's a matter of degree. No one is actually entirely lacking of self-esteem. And as we said, it's not something that is static and fixed. Some days we might feel low. Other days we might feel more better within ourselves. And quickly we want to just touch on these things before ending. One way to measure self-esteem is to evaluate our ability to be authentic to our true selves. How authentic am I to my true self? Am I generally honest with myself about what I'm feeling, accepting my emotions without feeling compelled to act upon those emotions, as if looking from the outside and spectating in, without being moved by them at all times? And self-esteem has these three major components, which is honesty, good action, and acknowledgement. And honesty, in short, is living consciously facing reality, whether pleasantly or painfully, and facing it rather than to avoid difficulties. It also acquires self-acceptance, and self-acceptance is the foundation of all the growth and change. Good actions means taking responsibility of the fulfillment of my desires and decisions, that I set some goals and take steps to achieve them. This may mean that at times I need to gather courage and taking small steps to achieve my desires and decisions. But this is the key to living actively rather than living passively, and to appreciate myself even if it is the smallest of steps that I've taken. And finally, acknowledgement, which means to observe and evaluating the results of my actions with honesty and compassion. Give yourself approval and reward for your success, even if success only lies in being brave enough in taking the action in the first place. By being honest, taking action, and acknowledging yourself, you are not only behaving with self-respect, but I create a deeper sense of self-confidence in myself and my abilities in myself. And eventually, it will lead to how I am treating myself. People will treat me in a similar way. Treat yourself as a good friend would do, with the same courtesies, love, compassion that you would have for a very dear friend of yours. Treat yourself in the same way. Don't be so hard on yourself at all times. But of course, where you need to give admonition to your friend because you dearly love him, don't be afraid of give yourself that admonition. Believe in your best intentions and trust in your innate goodness. Be gentle with yourself. Do something useful for others. All of these things will help us in having a good opinion of ourselves, will increase our self-worth, will increase our self-value. And I finally want to end with this, how beautifully Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi alayhi, has said, you think you are a small entity. You think you are a small entity, referring to the human being. But within you is enfolded the entire universe. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin al-Mustafa wa ala aliyin al-Murtada wa ala Fatimah al-Zahra wa ala Hasan al-Mujtaba wa ala Husayn al-Shahid bi Karbala وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة الله بن الحسن. اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه واجعلنا من أعوانه وانصاره ومن شيعته ومن محبيه ومن المستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك على كل شيء قدير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق